This video is just going to give you a brief introduction about the Math 1111 online Blackboard class you are currently in, talking a little bit about both the organization and the structure of the online class. Notice at the top here there's this big orange bar talking about being in student preview mode. That's only because as an instructor there's different options that I have that you won't see, but by being in student preview mode, then what's on the screen is what you should also be able to view. However, you won't see the big orange bar at the top, so you can ignore that. Anyway, when you first log into the class, it should automatically send you to this announcements page, which you can also get to on the link on the left. But this is where I'll be putting information about tests, your online tests, information about maybe the midterm and the final exam, which are both on campus, talking about what time of day, what room number to come to, any changes to the schedule, any extra information. This is where I would put that. So this is definitely something you want to be looking at on a regular basis. The good news is it's the first page that comes up when you log into the site, so that should not be an issue. So that's the announcements page. Going to the left of the screen, you'll see some other menu items. If you're to click on Start here, this brings you to the page with a lot of beginning information to the class. Here you'll see this Read This First document. Also talks about startup information. You definitely want to go through this. It's going to talk about just how the class runs. A lot of the stuff that I'm saying right now will be on here. It'll also mention that first big assignment that needs to be done within the first week. But there's just a lot of good information on that particular page. Also on the Startup Here or Start Here page, there's some instructor information about me. This is where you'll find my introduction video where you can actually see me. Also talks about my, got my office hours, phone number. So there's information about me there. Here's the syllabus for the class. Definitely something you want to read at the beginning of the semester. Standard syllabus, but talks a lot about some of the stuff that was mentioned in the beginning information that I sent to you online. But also just some extra information here about, testing, weighting of tests, and just different information, say our student services information, career services, warranty, a lot of the stuff that's on most syllabi. But anyway, definitely want to take a look at that. There's also the MyMathLab setup folder. You want to click on this to get information and a video that's going to help you get set up with the MyMathLab site, which links directly with this Blackboard site. So that's something you definitely want to do, and as part of the first assignment, something you want to do within the first week of the class, so that your class, this Blackboard class, and the MyMathLab website will integrate seamlessly together. There's more information on that in some other videos, both in the MyMathLab setup folder as well as throughout the course. There's also textbook information. This talks a bit about the book we're going to be using and the access code that comes with the book that's going to be necessary for logging into MyMathLab. It also talks about that if you don't want to get the book but only purchase the access code, that is acceptable. All right, the next thing it talks about is course due dates. These are throughout the course as well, but this is also a place where they're just all in one spot. Here at the bottom you see assignment and test due dates. This is for spring 2016. That may not be the semester you're in, but this just gives you an idea of what to expect. Here you've got the different due dates for all the different units, both the bonus activities, the homeworks, and the tests. Also in here, though, you see the Proctor request form. This is the request form you're going to need to fill out if you need to take your midterm and final exam in a place that's not on this campus. And that would only be for students where coming to this campus would not be feasible, that you live far enough away or driving here just would not be an option. Anyway, that's where you would find that form. Up here it just talks about what this particular document mentions. Got the MyMathLab homework assignment due dates, bonus activity due dates, available dates for the online test, and dates for the midterm and final exam, which are on campus. So that's the test dates, or course due dates folder. There's also a folder with all the different MyMathLab links you'll find. These are interspersed throughout the course, but you'll also find them right here in one nice little spot if you want to navigate to that. That can also be found, those same links. On the left, you see the MyMathLab links. Clicking on that sends you basically to the same page. Just several different options for getting to those particular links. And then the last folder here in the Start Here information is just a list of the discussion boards that deal with asking questions about each of the units. These are also found in each unit itself, but this is just a nice place where they're all together. So that is the Start Here menu item with a lot of beginning information for the class, something you'll spend, a good bit of time looking at for the first week or so, and then after that, you may not come to this particular page very often. But then the bulk of the class is, of course, in the classroom menu item. You notice this particular class is broken up into 5 different units. Unit 1, Algebra Review. Unit 2, Linear Graphs and System of Equations. Unit 3, Factoring and Rational Expressions. Unit 4, Radicals and Quadratic Equations. And Unit 5, Functions and their Graphs. There's also a folder here about the final exam information. We'll talk about that in a minute. But each unit is basically put together the same way. If I were to click on Unit 1, well, at the beginning of each unit, there's a little description about what that unit covers, as well as the state learning outcomes that are associated with this particular unit. But if I were to click on a unit, at the beginning of each unit is this plan of action. And what this does, it details what you're going to see in these other folders and items below it. It talks about the deadlines for Unit 1, but basically is your first look at what you're going to need to do in this unit. So you definitely want to read through each plan of action when you start a unit. After that, each unit has a textbook assignment page. Click on this. It talks about what problems from the textbook to work on, whether or not you have an actual physical textbook or you just bought the access online and you're using the virtual textbook. Either way, these are problems that would be good to do from the book itself, ones that you'll deal with problems you'll see on tests. Now, these are not to be graded. They're just for you to do and are good to do so that you're proficient with the material when it comes time for the tests. The next thing is a folder labeled My Math Lab Assignments, and these are assignments that will be graded. These are each unit, clicking on this, comes with 2 My Math Lab homework assignments. In this particular unit, the 2 assignments are labeled Unit 1, Homework 1, and Unit 1, Homework 2. For Unit 2, it would be Unit 2, Homework 1, and Unit 2, Homework 2, and so forth and so on. And they have very specific due dates, which are listed in the plan of action. And in order to get to these homeworks, you would click on the My Math Lab homework link here. This is talked about in another video. And clicking on that will send you to the My Math Lab site where you can work on both of those homeworks. And like I said, those have specific due dates, so make sure you do actually work on those before the dates that they're due so that you don't get a 0 on those. So there was the textbook homework. There's the My Math Lab homework. Remember, textbook homework not assigned. My Math Lab homework is assigned and graded. All right. Then there's the multimedia folder. This one is going to talk a little bit about some of the other resources you can use for learning the material. Talks about the 2 links from the My Math Lab site. There's the multimedia library, and then there's the eText, the virtual textbook that is on the My Math Lab site. Both of these are also talked about in some different videos in this course. You definitely want to look at those videos to get more information about that. But also in each of the multimedia folders, there's another folder with videos that I've created. Clicking on this will send you to a couple different videos that I've created, in this case in YouTube, and clicking on the play button should allow you to play each of these. Like for instance, in Unit 1, I've got a video on multivariable equations and dividing polynomials, 2 topics that I have found students generally have problems with. I might be adding more to this as it goes along, but right now there should be at least a couple in each one of the units. So that's the multimedia folder with a lot of extra resources for learning the material. Then, of course, there's something we mentioned before. There's the discussion board asking questions about Unit 1. All of these discussion boards about asking questions were in that other folder in the Start Here menu item. But this one's about asking questions on anything that pertains to Unit 1, whether it's exercises, due dates, computer issues, whatever. It says I will answer as best I can using either just text, audio, video, or a combination of these. And usually it takes me a day or 2 to answer those particular questions. Good thing about that is other students can view the questions. So if you have a question about an assignment or an exercise, then asking it here means that when I write my response, other students have the benefit of seeing that response. Also in each unit is a folder on bonus activities. Each unit comes with 10 points worth of bonus activities. In Unit 1, if I were to click on this, one bonus activity is a discussion board. Another has to do with you emailing me your solution to a particular problem. And it's just usually you'll see this sort of combination where there'll be a discussion board, assignment, something to work on, post on the discussion board for points, and then something to work on, send your solution via email. The only exception to that would be the Unit 3 bonus activity, which is something you actually work on and bring to the midterm exam. But that's where you want to look for extra points for each of these units. And then finally, at the end of each unit is a folder dealing with the test. This one talks about the Unit 1 test, which is on MyMathLab. It gives you the specific due dates. Again, this is spring 2016 term, so these due dates obviously may not be the ones that you're going to see. And it gives you a link to the testing page for MyMathLab, which is where you would take that test. And so just again, a brief overview of this particular unit. Each unit starts with a plan of action detailing what to expect and the due dates. Comes with textbook homework assignments, which are not to be graded. The 2 MyMathLab homework assignments, which have specific due dates and will be graded. There's a multimedia folder with a lot of extra resources for learning the material. There's a discussion board with questions about that particular unit. There's a folder with bonus activities, which will only be available once the previous unit is over. And then there's the folder dealing with the actual unit test. And in this class, as was specified in the syllabus, the Unit 1, 2, 4, and 5 tests will be in MyMathLab, will be online. But if you go to Unit 3, one of the exceptions here is Unit 3 still has a plan of action. There's textbook assignments, there's MyMathLab assignments, the multimedia folder, discussion board for asking questions, there's a bonus activity. But then the test folder talks about the midterm exam, which is actually going to be on campus, as is the final exam. And it talks about, what day, what time, and, I may not give you the exact time of the day and the exact room number, but that should be something that'll be on the announcements page at least a couple weeks before the midterm and final exam. And so that's what you're going to see for the structure for each of these 5 units. Units 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all have that basic structure. Once you're done with all those, and there are specific due dates, so you'll be going through these in a chronological sequence throughout the semester. So like Algebra 1, Unit 1 Algebra Review, you'll notice there are specific due dates for that particular unit. And then, of course, once that unit test is over, then you would go ahead and navigate to Unit 2 and work on those, going through those assignments before their due dates, and so forth and so on. And once you finish out all the units, the last thing would be is to take the final exam. Clicking on this folder gives you information about the final exam. This, of course, is for spring 2016, so what's up here may not be exactly what you're going to see. But it talks about the exam, how many problems, what to expect, and information about the exact time of the day and room number should be on the announcements page about at least a couple weeks before the final exam. And so the bulk of this class is in this classroom menu item. That's where you're going to see a lot of the information, the stuff that needs to be done for graded purposes. So again, we've got the announcements page, which is what you'll first see, giving you any important updated information. There's the Start Here menu item, which gives you just a lot of beginning information for the class. And then there's the Classroom menu item, which talks about the actual different units and the assignments you're going to see there. There's also an email option where you can email different users in this class. I would rather you send me email via your smart web account, so you may not use this that much. And then there's the dashboard, and in the dashboard you're going to see I've got a calculator if you need to use that there. The announcements page here just gives you a little idea, sort of a thumbnail of the announcements, but it's better to go to the actual announcements menu item. But the big thing about the dashboard is this report card. This is where you're going to see your grade book. And I don't have any grades in here, so I'm not going to click on this. But if you were to click on this, you'd actually see, if any grades are in there, what your grade average is at this point, and the different grades you got on different assignments. So that is something to look at if you're wondering if a grade has been posted or what your actual up-to-date average is. So that's a basic idea of how this class is structured. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me via email or by phone. But I hope you have a good, enjoyable class, and good luck in College Algebra Online.